Hello there and welcome to stage 4 of the No Pins Super League 2. Tonight we're in Stamfordham for the course given to us by Terry Wilkinson as the Stamfordham Blind Circuit. It's in total 40.5 kilometre course with 348 metres worth of climbing. So as we take a look here, it comes out of Stamfordham all the way up towards Bygate Hill Plantation before we swing round down towards Ingo there and make our way briefly in Mapfin before coming along past Fenwick and back into Stamfordham. So we're going to do 2 laps of that, and as you can see on the profile, the first half of it is kind of the climbing side, and then we have a bit of descending to get back. However, it's pretty rolly. Terry's been pretty happy with this course and expects to see lots of attacks on this because there's many little kickers throughout which could serve as platforms for someone to launch. As we see the standings in the silver and bronze, and this is the solo, we've got Class Spanner at the top, Saad Carradine second, Kevin Barclay third, followed by Terry Wilkinson, Ted Keeble, Salvo Caruso, Klaus Beering, Scott Gleason, Mark Stanley, and John Routledge. So remember, these are solo. It's best out 6 out of the 8. So people who may not be on the scoreboard yet or a bit lower down, there's always chances for this changing around as we look at the platinum gold. Top 3 wins out of 3, Igor Kops, followed by Rasmus Feldbauer, Jan Vanner, Carlos Vesper, John Beams, Casper Hederdam, Henrik Mard, Alex Plager, Gavash, and then Keith. I think that's Keith OTR is what is usually affectionately known as. Apologies, I'm not sure on your surname. That's how we line up. Team standings. Top is the gold platinum, so we've got No Pins R3R at the top, followed by ECKD, their gold platinum team, and then the podium with the pedalers. In the silver bronze, Team ADR, Amici di Rui, Italia, and I will apologise for how that was just pronounced. ECKD silver, and then Bat Armeni, or again, I'm sure these guys can tell me how it should be after it. So again, all close. There's lots of stuff going on. We're only 3 stages in, so plenty of time for switches to happen. Let's have a look as we enter the pen. So 25 seconds to go. And as you can see at the bottom of that graphic there already, there's lots of little oranges that you can see, which, as I said, is going to be naturally where people are going to want to kick and see if people can keep on their wheel. So, someone's just joined at the right at the end there. So 70 riders in the pen, so there's going to be a big pack rolling along this course. So I expect it to be very fast. 2 laps, remember, and away we go. As usual, seeing all the red numbers, getting that little slingshot out of the pen if you hit it high enough. That currently happens. I think it's if you hit, I think it's for those who can, hit about 1,000 watts beforehand, and it'll give you a nice little slingshot out of the pen. But it's not. There's our pain cave, little pain caves there. Rasmus has sported his blonde wig for tonight. Last time we remember seeing him, he had some form of afro thing on. So tonight we've gone for a nice blonde look. Wouter Claes, John Beams, as always, and Igor Kops in the mix. So I'm sure we'll be checking in with these guys, seeing how they're getting on. As with those 4, very likely to be up and in the mix tonight as well. And expect to see those names up on our screen. Okay, so someone looks like they've just done a little effort off the front. As I said, with such a big pack, it's not going to really do any damage. It might, you've got such a big draft effect with a guy sitting in and pulling through. As in, there's absolutely no harm at being done, because anyone who wasn't paying attention at the start and messing about, make it as quick as possible so they can't jump back on. And I expect to see a lot of little attacks like that, testing the legs, because at the end of the day, it's attrition, isn't it? So you want to keep seeing if you can make that break, see if people keep responding, because if they don't and they all sit up, that's cycle racing, isn't it? If everyone's going to look around and you take the initiative. But with 39k to go, someone's going to have to put an almighty effort in to stay away from a pack of about, let's say, 60 anyway, of riders. So right now, everyone will be getting warm. As I said, we've got these little kickers you can see at the bottom. Green means it's probably, I think it's about 1 to 3 degrees on the gradient. Once you start getting to the oranges, it's around your 3 to, I think it's about 6%, and then you start seeing the red numbers to tell you are climbing. Okay, so we see 2 guys, unfortunately, have been dropped off the pace already, 63 and 64, so that looks like that probably means we've got a pack of about 62. But I hope, and I'm sure Dame's very good at it, check in with these guys, because as demoralising it is 1.5k to realise you're out of the pack already, it's all about jumping in, getting involved, and having a bit of fun. So hopefully we see these guys cross the line and finish as well. So as we see, Hederdam who's always someone who likes to animate a race, and I expect to see the ECKD guys doing that. They've got numbers in tonight, because you can see with their red and white and black kit. They always turn up in numbers to, whenever I've commentated or been involved in these no pins races, they're always involved in big numbers, and I expect to see them attacking and trying to animate the race, because they have teams in both the gold, platinum and in the silver, so they will be wanting to score as many points as possible and drop as many riders as they can. As we see Keeble coming to the front for his turn, hitting the orange numbers. I say here, just as we hit one of our other little steps, as it were, hitting this about 6%. And as you see, naturally people want to roll through into the red and get over that as quickly as possible. And that's quite helpful when you have a pack that's going as fast as this. Tactic is, just sit in the wheels, and then as you're rolling through up on when the gradient increases, put your power down, use the effect of the draft, helps you get up just that a little quicker, as we're starting to see that effort there hurting some legs. Some people already where it's stringing out are going to have to work quite a bit to get on this. And that's always the thing, is that pack dynamic with people coming through, especially if it's a bit of a downhill like it was there, carries the natural pace. Sometimes, usually when you'll go up a little climb, you may see the riders ease off, giving you that time to jump back on, as we can see behind some riders desperately trying to get on the back before we hit our next little kick, should we say. You can see there's a little pack there that'll be wanting to give it everything they can to get back up, as we see back here the damage that is being done. So again, these guys have probably got distanced on the first little kick, and these guys are now just going to get up at their own pace, and then you'll hopefully find a few guys around near you. And we've got Christoph, always a favourite on the comments. Great to see you here tonight. We'll make some shit. Oh, unfortunately, that's sorry to hear that. But yeah, Igor, absolutely. He's always a man whenever he is in a race. He's always a man to watch. He's won 3 out of 3 so far, and I'm sure the guys in the pen are going to be keeping their eyes on him. As we see Simonsen and Christiansen, I think that is, again distance and doing a little 2-up, and this is it now, as Tang putting in a good effort to make sure he gets on the backs of these wheels, because as we said, we're 3.8k through. There's a long way to go. Come on, Wouter. The blonde man near you is a good wheel. He absolutely is. Rasmus Feldbau is a man to watch as well. So we've got very good riders in this pack today. A number of them absolutely able to take the win. And as we can see, as I'm looking ahead on that little course at the bottom there, it finishes with a nice little kick. Now that will be interesting on how some riders might attack it. If you were finishing on the flatter ones, you're more sprinter based, might want to tuck in and come through. However, I've got a feeling that little ramp there at the end that Terry sneakily put in is really going to make the legs hurt for that, and hopefully provide a great sprint finish, as the pack is thinning every time we look at them. So Klaas Vanner, as we saw, topping our silver and bronze from the No Pins team. Very strong rider in the silver and bronze, like a lot of riders are, purely because of time served on RGT. He will be, no doubt, by the end of it, up towards a gold, as we see. Well, I'm interested to see whether Rasmus is going to keep that on the whole time, but he's going away in his pain cave there. Igor tapping away, same as Klaas and John Beams. So not too much going on at the minute. Well, it's easy for me saying that there, as Rasmus gets a bit of screen time for his hair again, as he loves doing it. It's good to see. I don't know how he does that, because I have no idea how that's probably not irritating him. But fair play to him as we cycle through the guys there. Igor Kops in his little pain cave. Quite happy, spinning the legs there. Seems quite comfortable at the moment. As it looks like, as I'm just panning to the left, there's red numbers going on here. So we've just hit a little kick as Wouter gets out of the saddle. Making sure you say, there we go, headed down off the front. That you see KD guys, as always, trying to make this race hurt as much as possible for everyone. And there we see John Beams in the usual garage area. Well, I assume it's the garage. Pedaling away, making sure he's in that pack, as I'm sure he will be. So we're not too far off on terms of our climb. We've got a few little smaller kickers, should we say, left now before we kind of do our descending side to it. As I said, it's a great course because it's got lots of little kicks there. As you can see, that each is a little test on the legs, and each one of those, with the guys on the front putting the hammer down, is going to keep hurting the guys' legs, and you will see that causing riders and this pack to keep shrinking. So it'll be interesting how many we'll have this time next lap. As I said though, there's very good quality riders in here, so I expect there still to be a good group, or at least a selection, should we say, if someone does manage to get off the front, as we see these little gruppettos forming now. So we're here with about 40th position, and again, that's absolutely what you see. Doesn't matter if you're at the front, if you can find a little group, work together, because you, and as you can see here, two up here, because you've got no idea what's going to happen in the race. It's absolutely, you know, don't give up. Just because you're out the front pack, find other people to you know, form a group with, and hopefully you can catch some as we see the result of these little steps that we've been up. And it looks like this is probably going to be our little chasing bunch here that Olivier is just getting back onto with Stevie from 3R. So these guys have been distanced. However, that's a decent enough size pack that if they start working together and the front guys sit up, because you never know, because especially on the let's say on the downside, if they decide to ease off, then you never know. Without I say, it's just like real life. If the guys at the front start easing up and playing about, then there's no reason why people behind can't catch up, as we saw yesterday in the Tour of Flanders with those two at the sprint. Fantastic, looking at each other, and allowed everyone, the two guys, to come up and catch. Who knows? Always shows don't stop pedaling to the end, eh? So at the front, Greg O'Malley, saw him quite a bit in the last Isle of Man series, the Tour of Man, getting involved and putting in some good results. So let's see if he does the same again tonight. Okay, we've got two little kickers left really on this front half of the course, and you can see there's a nice little attack here forming of 5 guys. We've got Mard, Headerdam, Clace, Beams, O'Malley, so that's a good group there. They're not going to want to let these guys get away, as we've hitting this little kicker, and it does continue to rise, doesn't really ease off too, well, I say that as it hits 0, there you go, ease off too much. So the group instantly reacting to that, because those 5 were not people that you want to have up the road. So quickly shut down, and we'll hold back together as we are near the top on our first go round. Okay. Yep, quite a few ECKD guys left in this pack, as we've been seeing the names pop up and taking it to the front. So these guys really aren't here to mess about. They've obviously got a game plan, like most people. Teams, they'll be on Discord talking to each other, and as one finishes, the next one will be taking it up and doing an attack as class. Varner comes to the front, kind of eases that down. So sometimes you see on attacks someone catching and then instantly rolling through and kind of stopping pedaling. That's sometimes a nice little tactic to slow that person up, and just be a little naughty. Well, it's not naughty really, it's allowed in this. You absolutely go through, and if they're going to let you go on their wheel, ease up a little bit, which naturally eases the guy in front and allows that little respite. As I say, everyone's standing up, so that must mean something's going on. As we see, sorry, I can't see their name there. It's someone going off the front. Thank you, Damon. Oh, that's probably why. Hulsman's perfect. Putting in a good effort. Not seen this guy before, but he's up the front and he's putting in some good efforts. As he seemed to be the instigator there before we drop down here. I don't expect anyone to. So Anton Hulselmans, I don't expect anyone to have missed out there. I think they've all just regained on the back of that. As we are now on, let's say, the second half of the course, where it's, kind of, we're still rolling, but net downhill, should we say. So will there be attacks? Will anyone try and take it on? It's very hard when you're seeing these guys rolling here just at 50, 60k. What you don't want to be doing is what Bering and it looked like Østergaard potentially, I couldn't quite see, we're doing. They were off the back there. If the pack's rolling together, you do not want to be at the back there, especially with a gap. That's going to hurt. Sorry, Damon, as I know you said that as you switched across. But they want to get in that pack and in that draft as soon as possible, because the guy, even though Mard is pushing, these guys are putting good efforts in, and I say you can see all the top 10, all red. Even though I say we're kind of slightly going downhill, it's really not eased off on the pace. They took that little respite when we went downhill to recharge before going again, and Husselmans is really putting the power in. Really not wanting this pace to settle, anyone to catch back up. So if you're one of those guys off the back, I really hope they were able to jump in before that attack has happened, because we've now got 3 off the front, but they've kind of, you can see there, they've just started to ease there on the back, and I expect the guys, the pack there to roll with the numbers and bring that back. Although Husselmans really isn't wanting to sit in the pack. He's making a lot of effort on the downhill, which is interesting. Whether it was just from timing, but we didn't really see him much on the uphill section, but he's deciding to use a lot of his effort on the down, which is interesting and may come back to bite him later on. Keeble, unfortunately, has been distanced there in 21st, so it looks like we've got 20. There you go. So we've got 20 in the front pack. Which has been dwindling down quite a lot over that first half. So that's really done damage from 70 riders approximately starting to have 20 already. They've absolutely been putting a shift in to get rid of the riders that are there, and like I said, there's a lot of good riders still left in this front pack. As we see another little group on the road, which is our, what should we say, mid-20s, so about mid-20s to mid-30s, so must be about 10 riders or so in here. And what they'll want to do is just keep working together. Anyone who drops from this pack here, as we see Fellbauer off the front, putting in the effort, and I say we've seen just as much effort going down the hill as we have up. Really taking it to everyone. And he's still wearing his wig. Fair play if he keeps it on the whole time, especially if he's going to be putting out efforts like that. So he's still out in front. Numbers have dropped a little to the 200s. Potentially just an attack, just to see if anyone's going to respond. What's the pack doing? Who's the one using the energy? Because they've got so many in the team. Who are they using to put these little attacks in, make them hurt, see who responds, because you kind of mark who's keeping their noses out. As we said before, we saw Cops there, but we haven't seen him as he kind of rolls through, instantly knocks it off. We haven't seen his nose in the wind much yet, I expect him to do it'd be very surprising and very un-Igor Cops if he sits in for the whole race. I'm sure at some point he'll be biding his time to make an effort. So we'll try not to focus too much on your Cops if others are watching. But very strong rider, and I expect him to be in the mix at the end, absolutely. But then it's these guys such as Hulzemans and the other guy and the other teams and riders to make sure it's not being given to him easy, as we hit a little kicker here. That's Hulzemans again putting an effort in, big effort. So if someone is able to jump this, and I say they're all in reds, there's a couple that are in a quite low, probably just letting the others attack, and that's it. If everyone is looking at each other saying who's going to bring them back, that's exactly how these attacks stay away. It's just like real life, and that's what's great about RGT. You know, if you're new or if you're experienced in it, it's a very good representation of real life. If you're putting out more watts per kg, if you're going faster than the guy who is in second wheel on the front of the pack, you will stay away. It's, you know, with the other platform, should we say, there's not necessarily a massive blob effect, or you know what it's referred to as, where the pack will just roll through and it's just quite easy to sit on the train. If you put the effort in, you will be rewarded on RGT, absolutely. So it's great for reasons like this, because especially on a rolling course that Terry's given us, if you keep putting the attacks in, it's going to split the pack, which is what we've seen. And you can see at the bottom there, all those little white dots are little groups of riders, and I say you can just see them dotted throughout the graph, showing that, well, not everyone's been able to stay together. As Hulzemans really is putting in a good effort here, and as you can see on the left hand side, there's not many reds on. Oh, but Felbala said enough's enough. ECKD guys look like they're sending. Oh well, fair enough. He's kind of rolled to the front and then stopped, but then it looks like Varner has gone over the top to push that through. Whether that was a little tactic by them, put the effort in to make the others panic, go over the top and keep that high speed up. Didn't want to chase it down himself, but if you act like you're going to, others are going to respond and kind of you know, if you put the effort in, keep that pace up, which seems to have happened. Got another little rise here that Hulzemans just cresting now with the guys. What are we, 20 meters back? It looks like that's going to be closed down quite quickly now. So Hulzemans probably wants rest up now for a little bit, because it looks like we're pretty flat. It's all green there from what I can see. Little rolly bit, but pretty much the pack will get you over now, before that little sting in the tail, as you'd refer to it, which I'm sure is going to make the sprint to the finish very interesting. So we've still got our 20 together. So everyone survived that last little barrage of attacks. Okay. So it looks like these guys are, it's a good group that are left here. It's only going to be, you know, do well for ones and twos to maybe drop off from a bit of attrition next time we hit the steps. And I'm just about to be joined by my co-host Moti. You there?
Good evening, Matt. Sorry I am late, but under 10s football coaching unfortunately keeps me late nowadays.
It's all right. I know. I'm just the warm-up back to you. Don't worry, it's fine.
So, how's things looking? This is looking like quite a big group we have here.
Yeah, well, we start with 70, and as you can see on the front half there, lots of little steps and attacks that are provided. Launch pads, it's been a barrage of attacks throughout, which has whittled the group down to 20, and as you'll probably start seeing from the names, absolutely who you'd imagine to still be there, and they are. It's going to be it's a good select group that's left here, as we see Bella going off the front. ECKD have been here in numbers, and they've just been taking it in turns to attack, try and whittle this group down. So we've just had Huzelmans, a fella called Huzelmans, put in some for the last 5 minutes, been very attacking. And it looks like as we go through here, so you can see that what's damage is being caused behind. So we've got, unfortunately, Keeble looks like he's in a bit of no man's land, but we've got a good group here that have been working away, and if they keep doing that, then, like we said, anyone who drops from the front group, they'll be able to eat up.
Yeah, it's good to see some of those familiar faces and familiar names that we know from the first series, and how attacking, such as Felbalek, who was really attacking Henrik Mard there as well. John Beams, 3 names from Series 1 that were very aggressive riders, and it looks like
Absolutely.
these 3 are actually pulling out a little bit of a gap to that chasing pack. Do you think they'll be able to hold this?
Well, I've just seen an ECD rider go into red, so I'm hoping that was just to kind of get to the front. And like I was saying before, is that if you've got a man up front, what you'll want to do is send your other riders to the front of the pack and just free pedal, slow it up, try and get to the front to stop that pack speed happening. However, it looks like Wouter isn't having any of it, and as well as Cops there, you can see Bridgen. They're not going to want these guys, which is getting shut down. Let it go on long enough, and Cops goes straight over. And are they going to ease up? Yeah, they're going to ease up. So they've shut it down and closed it. As the Varner brothers are up there as well. And as I said, I think it's just going to be a case of attrition here, with guys popping in each time. The guy, if there's going to be a breakaway, they've really got to put a solid effort in here and maybe get 1 or 2 riders, like you saw there with the Mard Beams and Felballer, 3 very good riders who will work together rather than look at each other. That's kind of the dream scenario there, with the pack just looking at each other rather than chasing it down straight away, I reckon.
Yeah, interesting as well, isn't it? How you obviously saw the pack, obviously saw those 3 guys as a potential threat. Nobody was hanging back. As soon as somebody starts to make that bridge, then the rest of the pack has just to respond and start going with whoever's making that chase. Because as you say, if you're caught in the back of that pack as they're trying to advance and catch up to those front 3, it's very, very easy to get dropped off the back and find out that your race is completely finished.
Oh, absolutely. And there's Christoph. Yeah, impressive attack. Yeah, and I say Igor. Yeah, I expect to see a lot of that happening as we're about to come and finish our first loop around this course. I expect the same again as we hit those hills. It's going to be an attack, all-out attack on each one.
Yeah, just a bit of recovery there from the pack after that little attack. It'd be interesting to see if we see any real team efforts, particularly of this little kicker that's just at the end of this lap here, to see whether anybody does make that break and make it stick. That's the key in RGT, is kind of making the breaks always one thing. It's having the ability and having the desire to make that stick by working as a 3, which really does sap an awful lot of energy. So, but we do see these guys who are currently making the breaks still hitting the front and not just sitting in the draft and just taking the time. There we see again Hendrik going off the front again after his first break. So just still wanting to mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, there's hardly been a period where, let's say, of 2 minutes where there hasn't been someone trying their luck up to get across, to get out in front. And like you said, pointed out there, that this little kicker here is going to make for a very interesting finish. So it'd be interesting to see first time just how steep that is, because I reckon that's going to cause some fireworks in the lead up to the finish.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see whether anybody just has just a test on this little kicker, just to see who has got the ability just to be able to up that power, get themselves deep into the red to really hit the top, like Highballer there, really coming from the back, using the draft, springboarding through
he played that
into the red
absolutely,
zone.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it'd be interesting to see who can respond to this and who just doesn't have that top end power to be able to maintain these red figures all the way to the top of that little kicker.
Yeah. So yeah, from what we just saw there, that is absolutely going to hurt next time round up there, and that's very nice of Terry to stick that right at the end. So as you've just crested that, it looks like it's a couple of 100 meters, and there you go, straight to the finish. So as you can see, 3 guys off the front. That's kind of just obliterated. 50 meters made very quickly there. So the finish is going to be very interesting if that's still a pack going into there. If you don't back yourself for, say, that top 1 minute power, especially up a climb, you're going to have to do something on beforehand and try and get a gap, because the likes of, like we see here, Cops, Highball, Barner, or Clash, sorry, should I say, because they're both in, very strong riders. Or as we can see, some damage happening there. Barkley, Brask, and Headerdam off the back. So we can see, few guys suffered from that.
And after that little kicker, this is if the front 3 really wanted, they really can turn the screw, because after that little kicker going, literally every rider was in the red. All the guys who are in the chase pack really want to have a bit of a breather. This is the chance for this 3 to actually kind of put the hammer down, create a bit of a gap, which they're currently doing. They've got 143 meters on the chasing pack at the moment, which is not anything to sniff about, but they certainly have to continue to maintain the effort, which they are doing. Look at them all in the orange zone, so they're all working together. This could actually be quite a canny little break we've got here.
Oh, absolutely. And there's not much response, as we can see. Igor there putting in the effort, and that's what you're going to hope to see. These guys are regulars. They know what they're doing in terms of cycling. What you should see there is happening. Highball will be there for another 30 seconds, and then Varno will come through. If they work together here now, especially up these climbs, that chasing back absolutely has its work cut out for them, because you've got, with an ECKD ride up there, none of the other guys should be on the front working. You're not going to have Jan from No Pins. So you've got some riders there that are probably going to try and cause a bit of disruption, get on the front and say slow it down, or just stick on the back. And so you've already decreased the riders who are going to help you there as class does go to the front. So these guys already seem to have got their number orders sorted, and if they do a 3 up here, it's going to be a big ask for that pack. Really is going to have to get together to bring these 3 strong riders back, definitely.
Absolutely, in that pack they'll be looking across that front line, just looking at each other and just wondering, right, who's going to be the one who makes the break to actually try and shut this down? Because if there's 1 or 2 riders go, we will see another 3 or 4 riders go, and I'm fairly sure we'll see some people dropping off the back. But at the minute, nobody in that chasing pack seems to be wanting to spearhead the recovery to try and shut the gap down, which is great news for the front 3, but not so good for the chasers.
Yeah, that's it. I say if they start and continue to look at each other, it's only going to benefit the front guys at front. And if you just see single riders going off on 1s and 2s, again, that's going to decimate the pack. You'd need the collective bunch to be rolling through, as you just see Stimpson there not able to hold it out over the last little kicker, and it's just going to unfortunately be distance here. You need a big effort to bring this back, because we're not far off hitting our next one, where again that's just going to increase the pace. So it's been relentless, this one, because if you can't hold on these little steps, you're not getting back, really.
Absolutely, in this chasing pack, we'll really have to, this next little kicker that's coming up now, they're really going to have to put a really big dig in to close it down. Because look at that front 3, all in the red zone before they even hit this. There was 7.8% incline there. So these guys are still pushing that pace. It's going to take a really strong effort from this chasing pack, and a really coordinated effort to actually close down that gap, which is increasing every time we look.
And I don't know why Bearing's at the front there pushing that. That's interesting. Whether he's just doing it to make sure he's not getting dropped out the back, as we see, it may just be that maybe unfortunate timing, but I know he wants to make sure he doesn't get distance, because as I said, these guys are hitting this at full pace. But if you're an Opens or an ECKD, you do not want to be at the front. You want to keep your guys out. Well, they want a high ball run, so they don't want to be bringing any other team back with them. It's absolutely on the other guys to be coming through and doing that work, as we can see them sitting in greens. That's exactly what the front three are going to want to see. So you can see Cops there, top right, really going for it, as they are doing their 3-up TTT.
Yeah, they're certainly putting the effort in. They're certainly making the stick as well. And that's this chasing pack we don't really have unless two of the teams come together. So you've got little individual riders from each team. Nobody's really got 2 or 3 riders who can take turns to chase this back. So unless, like some Wood Clays from Moon Riders manages to team up with John Beams, for instance, from Peddlers and work as a 2 to try and pull it back, they're all going to be looking at Wood. Actually looks like he's working quite hard there as well. So he's certainly not sitting back in the draft expecting somebody else to do the work. But unless they start working together in each individual team, these 3 guys have really looked like they could take this away.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting when they get to, let's say, the halfway point when they've done their climb and what it's going to be. So we saw it at 150, and I can see now the 200 numbers. So their gap is increasing. It just depends how much effort they put in over these next few kilometers. As we can see Cops kind of riding off the front. Are they going to end up in, a 2 and a 1, or all by themselves? And that's potentially not what you want to do. But if you're strong enough, like we know Cops can be, Varna's very strong as well. I can start saying Varna classes as well as Highball. Individually, they're all strong, but they don't want to be going from a 3-up time trial to an individual time trial, because that's exactly what this pack wants to see. They want to see them fighting each other rather than working together so that they can capitalise.
Absolutely, and that's a tough decision for the front 3. So they don't really want Highball or drop off the back. It kind of reduces the draft, reduces the speed. But on the second hand, what they don't want to do is they don't want to reduce the speed too much to bring Highball back in to allow the chasing pack the opportunity to close it down. So this is where the front 2 really have to decide whether they're going to just leave and drop Highball or let him kind of fend for himself, or whether they're just going to temper their pace, temper it a little bit, bring it back in again, increasing their chances of taking it through to the end. But at the looks of it, Ego Cops is pushing the pace. Klaus is hanging on into his wheel there, so it looks like Ego is keen to take this for a 2s up to the end, and he's got a canny distance to go. He's got 15 kilometers to go as a 2s up. That's not an easy ask by any stretch.
Nope. So it looks like these Class and Igor are gonna be a 2-up, because I think Highball there, just as you can see there, he's dropped towards the low 4s, and that he knows that any effort he's now going to put in is he's not going to catch 70-80 meters on these 2 now that they're realised that's it, that's them, those 2 now, they're going to be putting in a 2-up effort. So Highball, unfortunately, and it isn't going to be coming back, and he's got 15k to go, so he's in absolutely no man's land there. Best thing you can probably do is just keep the pace on. Maybe see if a couple of ECKD can jump across to him and help, but he's only going to be wasting energy out on the front there, and I'm sure he'll just be spinning now just to wait for the rest of his team and get back in that pack. So
yeah, this is where team tactics, this is where team communications really come into play. So a lot of these teams will be using Discord. So at the moment, Henrik will no doubt be talking to his chasing team riders, asking what the static's going to be. Are they going to try and bridge that gap across to him, have a 3-up ECKD team to try and pull back the front 2, or they're just going to say, look, Hendrik, have a breather, come and join us back in the pack when you've had enough, and then we'll kind of regroup, rethink, and then maybe launch an attack towards the second half of this lap towards the end. Be interesting to see what tactics ECKD you've got up the sleeve now.
Absolutely, and also to be fair, we are saying 15k, but if this group here is just going to, spin and keep kind of status quo and roll together, then Highball still has 3rd place up for grabs. So he, again, as you said, he's got to be thinking about that as well. As that if they are going to sit, then why not just keep going and see if he can last it? Because if these guys are just going to roll together, then that plays again into Highball's hands, and he'll be taking 3rd.
But if any time is the time for them to smell blood, now is the time. They know that that front three have dropped a rider, so they now know that there's only two up front, and they undoubtedly will be just getting fatigued at some point in the second half of this lap. So if this chasing group really want to start putting the pressure on, now is the time to do it, because they can start reeling these two in, but only if they make it a concerted and coordinated effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Two up front they know their job now is just keep rolling through, do their efforts, and they'll be fighting out for 1 and 2. The group behind, I know we're still kind of climbing maybe once we hit the other side, but they've really as a group got to start coming together and working, because they've got a much bigger pack, meaning much better rolling through and drafting, especially making use of that downhill section. So if they were to really put their efforts in the turns, there's no reason why they can't start bringing some of this back, as we see Melville putting in a little attack there, who I haven't mentioned either. So go on, sorry.
No, sorry. The concern is for this chasing pack is if they pushed a little bit too hard on these couple of kickers, we could see this chasing pack break up into smaller groups, which will lessen that draft effect, lessen their speed, and therefore reduce their chances of chasing it back too. So even the chasing pack have got a little bit of tactical thoughts to put into how they coordinate this attack. And with ECKD having a few riders there, they're probably the team who are more than likely going to coordinate some of these attacks. But James Melville there from Scotland was certainly pushing it out front, just dropping off the back there after doing his bit of effort. So you never know. We could be seeing a bit more coordination, a bit more attacking from this chasing pack now.
Hopefully, because this group is an experienced group. They know what they're doing, and I'm hoping that's not going to mean they're all going to look at each other expecting each other to be the one who is the one to bring it back, as we see Heuselmans go off the front around the same place he did last time, towards the top. Last time he put in some good effort, and on the other side as well, so he seems to like this area as we see him go off the front.
And on his own, really, that's going to be a very ineffective attack at this point on his own, with nobody coming with him. So, this is really, to an extent, it's a bit of wasted energy unless he can bridge over to Highballer 100 metres up the road and be able to take another two away. But whether the pack will probably chase him down.
Yeah, well, that's it. Is again, if they're just going to sit and look, then, and if Heuselmans keeps putting the pace on, then, as you said, he's got 100 metres to get to Highball. Again, 2 up. If the others are just going to sit and watch, then absolutely, you've got to gamble and see if they're going to catch, because you're going to hit the downhill soon, and if it doesn't pay off, you've got still a lot of road left to rest the legs before that last little kick. So it looks like Heuselmans is staying off the front while the others are watching. Or looks like Melville again. Haven't seen him until that attack previously, so he's been biding his time. Beams throwing his hat in as well, so it looks like he's going to want to try and get on Heuselmans' wheel.
Yeah, it looks like what you're just hoping for is coming into that, try and bridge that little gap. What you're desperately hoping for is that rider in front of you who just drops down into the yellow zone while you're sticking it in the red to close it down. The worst thing you can see is the rider in front just dropping it into yellow, then smashing it straight back up into red again, increasing that gap, and you having to either make that decision: am I all in here, or do I just back off and just wait for my chance? But looks like Beams and Brem are both having a go to try and close that gap to Heuselmans, as he slowly seems to be reeling in Highballer, who was certainly not taking it easy by any means at all. He's still whacking up into the high 4.0s and the high 5s as well. So he's certainly not cruising along, is Henrik?
No, he wasn't. I say that was a big effort from some of these guys to bring that back, although still not got him as we go over the other side. Heuselmans got that little advantage over the pack, so it looks like they're all still together as well. Where I think that pack, you can see that pack speed there, should close Heuselmans up and serve as a good launch pad as well for some riders to keep rolling through and probably pick up Highball as well in the process.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that rolling speed that they'll have going down this hill will just swallow up Highballer eventually. Whether they'll be able to carry that speed as a rolling pack, whether they'll get a bit more wind back behind the sails and start pulling in this front too. The gaps, is it 2x? Is it too big? Is it 365 meters there to Highballer? Is that too big a gap to close down in the last 10k?
I would, at the minute, my money is on those two because they're constantly at 5. You know, someone's at 5 and the other's very close. So if they're pulling turns at between 5 to 6 watts per kilogram, these guys really need to start putting in a big effort to catch them. Those Ego on class, very strong riders. It would this group here would need to all come together and as a group do an effort to catch them, because at the minute it's a bit disjointed, everyone looking at each other who's going to take it up. But now with Highball in the group, RECKD going to get to the front and start attacking now, because they've been obviously quiet with having Highball up. Are they going to start animating this group? And as you say, you might see that 360 number come down. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, we can start seeing that little attack now, can't we, coming down the hill? So, unlike many of the other platforms, attacking downhill on RGT does seem to actually reap rewards. So, some of these more experienced riders, Beams, Feldballer, and Bering, all kind of using this downhill attack to their advantage, and this might actually split this front pack a little bit, very possibly, if some of the riders aren't paying attention and off the back.
Oh yeah, it's stringing out, and as you said there, because of your speed and with RGT, if you lose that wheel, you're gonna have to put a big effort to get back on again, especially when it's going downhill and fast. But it looks like no one's been caught out. I think we're all going to come back together with this group. So yeah, seems that we're all back together, and say we're 390 meters still. It's going to have to. These guys are just going to have to really empty themselves to catch back up, I reckon. But with with the caliber of riders, it could be done. You know, there's a lot of strong riders in that group, but as I said, it'd need all of them to work together as we see the next little group on the road with Brask, Stimson and Barkley working together. So.
Yeah, these guys are still working. They're still kind of working their race. They've got riders behind them as well, so they're still in the top 20 in this field, which is a good position to be in such a strong field. And this, I think, when we get to the bottom of this hill, that'll probably be the real test of where we actually are. Because at the moment, they're currently still kind of going on a neutral to downhill slope. This chasing pack, I think we will maybe see, but that gap still seems to be getting bigger. So when we hit the flat, I think we'll have a much better idea of what this gap is actually like and who's actually putting the work in once we hit the flat.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see, our kind of 20s to 30s bunch, and as you said there, it doesn't matter where you are. You keep racing for the numbers. All these little mini races that go on because of that front pack, a lot of those are going to be in the gold, platinum category. So, like, all these positions absolutely will matter in the overall standings, as we see that Horvat just getting distance there, hopefully be able to jump on. And Moles 500 in front and 600 behind. That's going to be a long 10k.
That is proper no man's land, isn't it? 500 meters either way, nobody anywhere in sight. It's just a case of that's a TT to the finish. It's very unlikely he's going to catch, and very unlikely that he's going to be caught. And looking further down in the 30s, Stevie and Ostenstein from R3R there, alongside with a small group. So again, these small groups always do seem to give that little bit of additional impetus to racing. Unlike Horton, who's got a tough gig there now.
Yeah, that's it, and especially with these little steps we've seen, these little ramps have really caused this pack to be split up and caused these little ones and twos that we can see all the way throughout the pack.
Yeah, and this is where those time gaps just get progressively bigger. No, not quite. Oh, that's a very nice pink jersey there from those two guys. And this is where the time gaps really, even though we're not looking at time now, these time gaps just increase massively as these these groups split up into ones and twos, from the
Yeah.
first few riders all the way down to position 40 and 50. But thankfully, you know, in this series, it's points, not time, which is important. So it doesn't matter what the time gaps are; it's your finishing position on the road that makes all the difference.
Absolutely. As we see, our front two riders with 6k to go, 420 meters. I'd say it's going to be one of these two. Cops on for 4 out of 4, but it's class who's going to be the one to stop that.
Yeah, we know Class has got a very strong sprint finish. I haven't seen Igo's sprint finish yet, so you know, if they can take it wheel to wheel on the last 100 meters, it'll be an interesting little battle towards the end. But I think this little kicker that we've got coming up, that front group, is going to really decide. I think that's going to pretty much dictate what we're expecting to see for the next few K. If the front group really hammer up, we're seeing them putting in big ride numbers, we know that they've got the ability and the strength and still got something in the tank to take them to the end. If we see this chasing pack all in the red and that front two just not quite hitting the same numbers, might make it a very interesting last 5K.
Yeah, absolutely, because they know how strong the two guys are who are out in front. Some of them are probably thinking, am I just going to save my energy for that last kick? Because are we racing for third? And am I going to, you know, put my chips in to say, okay, we're going to race for third. I'm just going to sit in now and keep everything ready for that final, I don't know how far it was, but, you know, the kick to the finish, and just sit in the wheels now, which obviously when you've got other riders there who want to put the effort in, that's when we talk about disjointed. You've got everyone, all these little intricate tactics and team and solo play going on. So it's anything and everything can happen. As someone who might be not as climbing inclined, without trying to say that twice, might want to try and make a break for that, because they know they're not as strong on the climb. They want to make a break so that they can get up that hill before the rest of the pack closes them down. So, yeah, going to be a hard one to call. I do think the front two will stay away. It's just how that chasing pack, how that dynamic's going to happen. Whether they're all going to rest for third, or who's going to be the man to jump and say, right, well, I'm going to go for it then.
Yeah, I agree. My money's on this front two as well. It'll be interesting to see at what point they decide just to back off and start looking at each other, ready for tactically looking at how they're going to finish this race, because that little bit of uncertainty towards the end of the race might actually put a little bit of pressure on the chasing pack to actually really try and put some big efforts in, because I don't think that gap's complete. It'd be an amazing comeback if they do close it down in the last 4 kilometers, but it's certainly not impossible.
I know. I was joking about the Tour of Flanders yesterday with that happening. So if these two decide to do a Van der Poel and Pogacar situation, you never know what can happen. So absolutely, these guys should not be given up till the finish line. But in saying that, you can just see there's no red numbers here. I think if we were seeing that natural rotation, someone coming through constantly in the changing of the guys on front, then maybe you could have said, okay, if the front guys are going to sit and look at each other, as Beams is proving me wrong, as he's probably listening in on purpose, coming to the front, and if they do that, then that could close, but I think they've left it too late to start doing this.
Yeah, I completely agree as well to that, Matt, and I just don't think that everybody is doing their fair share of the work. There are definitely some riders who will be quite happy to sit in that pack, just sit in the draft, just take the easy ride right until that last kicker, then put the hammer down. There will be some riders there who aren't that bothered about pushing the pace now and try and use their strong sprint finish to get third place, whereas the likes of John Beams, who we know is a very attacking rider, wanting to push that pace on the front, wanting to try and close things down, wanting to try and split this group up a little bit. We know that John doesn't have the strongest longer sprints, so he will really want to try and thin things out a little bit. And we'd be interested to see whether some of these ECKD guys decide to put in a more coordinated attack now. Melville and Highballer off the front again. Melville's put in some good attacks in the last few kilometres, so he's certainly putting some work in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And say straight away responding, while Clay's going over, but then not full on easing off, but has gone back into the green. So you just want to see, positions 3 to 5 to be in the red, coming through and going as fast as possible, because it's come down to 320. Like we said, if the front two start looking at each other, and if that group were to keep pushing through, keep on the reds like they are doing now, all these attacks, then that gap could close down. But as it said, I think this is about a few K too late, but you never know. It's on those two now to not let that go and to keep pushing, keep working, as you can kind of see them in blues and greens there. So they're the pack. Oh, it's just as we had there. I was trying to see the speed differences. So again, if these guys keep pushing us, we can see Mard there. Oh, don't don't drop from 5 to 3, Mard. You want to keep your pace going. But
to be fair to Hendrik, what you want really in this chasing pack is you want every 15 seconds somebody to be hitting the front, hitting the red to maintain this momentum. If somebody, if you've only got 2 or 3 riders who are prepared to do that, you can never sustain that momentum. You just can't do that, every third turn. You need 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders to take their 15, 30-second goals to really maintain this, pull this speed along and close that gap down. But that just does not seem to be happening at the minute.
No, and maybe a bit unfair to Mard there. He is on his own there, I think, and he's the only. I think he's RGT Sweden there, so he's the only rider there. It really is probably dictated by the ECKD guys who have 4 or 5 riders in, I think. Really, they should be dictating what's happening here. If they're happy to take third and the team points in that sense, because that's what they'll be thinking about, is if they've got 3 riders up here, they want to kind of protect them as well for the team standings. They might be looking at doing that as, again, commentator's curse. They've decided to attack. But
yeah, and that's a great move. That's a great move for ECKD, isn't it? Getting maybe 2 or 3 riders up there, try and create a little bit of a splinter in the group. Highballer had that initial attack there, and good old 1-2 tactics, kind of drop back into the pack, allowing Bering and Rasmus Feldballer to start attacking. We know how attacking Rasmus is, so he will be quite happy sitting out there, just putting on the pace in this chase group. So be interested to see whether they make this stick, whether Highballer just sits in and lets them go for it and get those positions 3 and 4 on the road.
I think they played that perfectly there, because like we're talking about in terms of the team, is everyone was looking at them to do the work now because you've got 2 of them off the front. It's all single guys who are going to look at each other, who've kind of just been sitting in the wheels the whole time. They've now really got to make an effort, because these 2 know have done a great attack. Teammates, and they're going to come through. They know they've got, here we go. So we're well within the side of K now. So we'll probably see Kops and Varna for their finish as they're about to hit the climb now, which hopefully will switch over. So there we go. So we'll be able to see the run-ins of 300 meters to go as class opens up. So I expect it's going to be very close, 250 meters. This is going to be hurting. Big numbers coming out from both of them. Class hitting 800. Well, that's he's got a gap, but Kops is going to be able to hold it. Yeah, Kops is coming through now. Class needs to somehow get on the draft. No, it looks like Kops has come through. Well done, Kops.
Great coming over the top there, was it?
Yeah,
great coming over the top beautifully there, didn't he?
Yeah, that was it. Held in the wheel there. Let Class take up the front till it started easy. His speed. Oh, it's not that he was going slow. They were putting daft numbers in, but Kops sat there as we see Highball take third, Feldballer fourth. That was a great little, and Jan just looks like he nicked in front of the other ECKD rider. So great team performance from ECKD there to take what would have been 3, 4 and 6 potentially. So
yeah, that was a great recovery by Great recovery by Henrik Highball as well, because that he was hit with the front three, got dropped by the front two. Obviously, continued to work reasonably hard, dropped into the pack, and superb timing of the attack with himself and Rasmus Felballer to take positions 3 and 4 on the road. Really well timed, good effort, and the pack had nothing really left to respond to that.
No. Yeah, it was perfectly played, as you said. Yeah, went there. The rest looked and took it to the finish. So well done, ECKD on the team aspect, and Igor and Klaas for that. That was going to be a tough 2 up that they ended up doing there, and yes, very strong efforts from Igor there to come round to Klaas at the end and take the win.
Yeah, they played that very well, did Igor and Klaas on that. They took the front and did just enough to maintain that gap. They knew that the pack were going to be closing down in the last couple of kilometres. They had a big enough cushion. They worked hard enough in the early parts of the break to be able to get that cushion out, managed to drop Highball, and they put the work in to maintain that, and deservedly got the 1-2. Great tactics by Igor, as you said, coming over Klaus at the top of the crest of that hill, 100 metres from the finish to take the win. But very impressive from the 2 of them.
As we're going to see, Damon's put these straight into a leaderboard for us. So yeah, Igor top spot from Klaas, and Henrik Highball rounding out. So then we've got Rasmus. So yeah, that's 3 and 4 for ECKD. Jan Vanner, good result there. Say he would have done exactly like we expected. Kept in the pack, surfing the wheels, and has come through for a great finish there. Followed by Braham, Versich, Huselmans, Claes, and Bering. So a lot of ECKD have done well there. That's 4 in the top 10. So they'll be, I'm sure they'll be looking good on the points for today. But very close finish there. Go on. Sorry.
It was a good finish, and as you say, good team points. I think ECKD did play it well. Igor Kops obviously went off. Klaus did the right thing by hanging on to his wheel. He knew he was strong enough to be able to hold on. Did the right thing. Jan Vanner, obviously from no pins, had the opportunity to go with it. Didn't quite make the break. Did the sensible thing, sitting in the pack, not pushing the pace, allowing the rest of the pack to do the work, and came in a good 5th. So good points there for ECKD and no pins as well. Both teams getting good points in those top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see there, finishing off from that, so we had Barnett, Melville, Mard, Beams, and then O'Malley finishing off. As we can see, a few riders coming in.
And we could just see how we were talking about before, just those smaller packs just splintering, and how we just those time gaps just proceed almost exponentially increase the further down the field we go, as we just see bigger gaps between each riders, and we'll see that all the way down. It's almost like a logarithmic curve as we see the gaps get progressively bigger the further down the field that we go. And these guys, they're all talented riders. It's not like they're racing, a C category or, very, very bottom end of the bronze category. These guys are all strong, and they're still, struggling to be able to hit, just because they don't have that draft, just because they don't have a wheel to follow, makes such a big difference in being able to sustain the power through the whole hours-long race.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You can look at the top 20 when the last ones sift through. They're all strong riders that you see at the front of most races. So that pack that was kind of selected at the end there, all very strong riders that could have gone off and been anywhere. Those positions could have ended up in any mix. So anyone coming 20th and after that, it's absolutely credit to them. There's nothing wrong with that.
And Richard Dibigara, the last rider there, just scraping in into the hour by 0.4 of a second. So the top 19 riders coming in into the hour, and Foon Stenhager just losing out by, what's that? 1/100th of a second. Just couldn't push that last little bit out of to get himself under the hour, and I'm sure he'll be kicking himself for that. But just shows how tough this race was. Only the top 19 of the whole of the field managing to get under an hour on this not particularly challenging course at all. It certainly wasn't a tough one, but there was lots of little kickers, great attacks, and this is very much, as you said earlier on, very much a race of attrition, and we saw that with each little kicker we just see a couple of riders dropping off the back.
Yeah, so I think we can thank Terry for a good selection, of course, there, and especially that last little bit to give us that extra flavour of action anyway.
I tell you what, though, it's never this sunny in Stamford. I've ridden that's my local roads as well, and it's never as nice as it is today in Stamford. I know that for certain, and I certainly missed quite a lot of the potholes on that road as well that we seem to endure in the Northumberland roads.
Yes, they haven't quite got the normal English weather option, have they? Where it's just constant rain and sideways wind. There's not that option yet on RGT.
Should definitely be included as an option. So we can just see kind of riders just coming in dribs and drabs now, kind of finishing off their ride. You know, this is difficult if you're just riding on your own. Is how hard can you push to the finish? You know, this eventually started as a race, ends up being a training session, and you can make that training session as easy or as hard as you want to be. Is Stevie going to be able to hold this off from the chasing four? Is he going to be able to put that little last bit sprint towards the end there? Is he? Oh, looks like he is. He's certainly doing well at this last bit of kicker. This is coming up to the end, so we've got a couple of 3R guys there fighting enough for the finish. Williams is just dropping off the pace. Can he respond, or has he lost out to this front three? It's going to be a 3-up sprint, I think, for this for the line.
Looks like Oystenson's going to get that one over Stevie, or unless has he got a kick to come back? 20 meters. No, looks like he's going to take the honours.
No, Stevie doesn't have a kick. Stevie's never had a kick.
Oh, and there goes Williams again, fighting all the way to the line to take that little spot off him. So fair play.
And really big Scandinavian contingent, isn't it, in these races in RGT? So we do see a really big contingent from those guys as well. Henrik, great racing from you tonight. Excellent, yes, really good effort going out with the front three. You know, you managed to continue to work hard. And you managed a great little effort at the end there with Rasmus to break away from the pack to get yourself into a very, very good third position. So that was great racing from you tonight, Henrik. Well done, buddy. John, there, thanks very much. Good attack. Good to see that you're still attacking. Didn't really have an awful lot of help in that chasing pack there today. Nobody really wanted to give you a hand. Difficult when you've got 3 or 4 ECQD riders. Not an awful lot of support from your pedalers, folks, but great to see you still attacking it off the front, trying to chase these guys down. And I could just see that obviously cost you in the end as you just dropped off that chasing pack. So here we are to next week's. We're off to Fiesta Island. Now, is that Fiesta based on the glorious Ford car, or is it based off the 1970s adult magazine that I'm sure many your father had in the bottom drawer of the bed? I remember it well. Matt, you're probably too young for that. But this is a very...
Can't catch that reference.
Too young. So this is an extremely fast and very flat course, so we undoubtedly are going to see just a barrage of attacks happening for the full 33.2 kilometers of this ride, I would have thought.
Yeah, seems very much like a crit sort of course, this one. It's going to be flat and fast, so yeah, I think it's going to be constant attacks out of these little corners, trying to make these little breaks. So it's one for the sprinters, but like we always see, flat never means an easy race. I'm sure there's going to be constant attacks going throughout this one, so I'm sure we'll be in for yet another great race.
And being in San Diego, we can certainly expect another massive bunch of San Diego sunshine shining down on these riders, creating a huge amount of sweat for them as they go around this nice crit course, which is an interesting little island. So I'm sure that's one of the highlights of the crit course racing in the Morena region in San Diego, no doubt. Not too far from the SeaWorld of San Diego, which is actually quite world famous, isn't it, for its whales and dolphins, I believe. I think.
I can't say I've been, Moti.
No, I've never had the opportunity to go.
Manage to get there.
Well, next time you go to San Diego, get yourself on the Fiesta Shores crit circuit. I'm sure Zach will more than happily take you around for a spin, for a nice little cruise, a nice like gentle cruise around the island. So I'm expecting this
when Zach's involved, I can tell you that.
That's very true. Thankfully, my legs have never had the benefit of riding with Zach. But next week, I'm expecting this to see attacks from the absolute gun. Somebody, no doubt, will absolutely bury it from the offset, split that pack into smithereens off from the gun, and I'm fairly sure for the first 5 or 6 kilometers we will just see an absolute relentless, endless attacks until things start to settle down a bit. But even then, we know in RGT it never really fully settles down.
No. So as you said, as you built up there nicely, I'm sure it's gonna live up to it and be a great one.
Just see a couple of the riders coming in towards the end there. I think what we can do is just show those final positions of the riders that have come in there now. Let's see how that leaderboard looks after today's great race. Great to see a break winning today. Good to see a bit of effort coming in and another break to get positions 3 or 4. So we'll just see what those final results were today on the beautiful Stamford and Northumberland roads, as the guys currently are busy defrosting themselves and getting rid of the sweat and the rain and the mud from the bikes, as well as fixing the punctures that they've got in the bent spokes from the potholes and the Stamfordham roads. So our winner today, Igor Kops, with a great break with Klaus Vanner and Hendrik Heiboller. They eventually drop Hendrik into 3rd place, but great break from Hendrik and Rasmuller at the end of the race to take 3rd and 4th. Jan Vanner from No Pins R3R taking our 5th place position, kind of supporting his brother. Martin Broom and Uros Veršič. What team is that, Matt? The B? I don't know what team that is, actually.
I'm not sure if that's related to Masters, because Martin Broom had the ECKD top on. Veršič didn't, but I don't know if that's a Masters type race where they've said that, as in people do put your brackets after your name. I'm guessing.
No, that's fine. I think that's a great guess. Antal Hussermans, who we saw put a good attack in towards the end, towards the middle bit and the downhill section, was caught out by the speed of the draft of the pack and who caught him up. Wout de Cleers, who was very attacking in the first half of the race, he put in some really good attacks, managed to come in 9th. And Klaus Behring, always a strong rider, always up, coming in 10th place.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was a good race, and good to see some change of tactics there as well today. Good to see that break, and I was actually surprised that front 2 did manage to hold it out. But I think once they got that gap up to 400-500 meters, it was always going to be a tough call for the pack to chase them down. Yeah,
that's it. I think once they knew, once each side kind of knew that was it. The power was down in those boys. They'd had to have put something special in, and ECKD, great team tactics, and again with the rest of them just being individuals, they were just going to sit in and see what ECKD would do. But they still caught them off guard, as we said, with that 3 and 4 for fantastic positions. It'd just be great to see a few more teams coming in numbers to give ECKD a bit of a showing. As personally, we were a bit light on the no pin side this week, unfortunately. But absolutely fair play to ECKD. They turned up in numbers and they played a fantastic team effort. So, yeah.
So that takes us to the end of the first half of Super League Series 2. We start next week in the second half, on the 11th of April. In the Fiesta Island in San Diego. So this takes us all the way over to the United States for the second half with four races to go. We are expecting it fast, furious, attacking, exciting racing next week, probably with the same names as well that we've seen today, but thoroughly looking forwards to next week. Should be a great race. Thank you very much for holding the fort while I was bossing some 10-year-old footballers around in the early stages. Thank you very much for doing that, Matt. Great to talk with you again, and hopefully will we see you next week, or will you be on the road yourself, making yourself sweat?
I'll be with you for the next 4 weeks, Moti.
That's fantastic. Great to hear. Well, I shall hopefully be a bit more on time next week, depending on how these 10-year-old boys behave themselves. But I've had a great session, great week there today, great race, excellent. And I shall see you, as well as all of you beautiful as NMS viewers, next week.
Yep. Thanks very much, Moti, and thanks, Damon, behind the scenes, and anyone who's still watching. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Great work. Catch you. Well done. Catch you soon, guys. Take care.